Hi, welcome to First on Fraud, the podcast where we talk real estate scams and shams and what you can do to stay one step ahead. On this episode, we are talking about how Cupid's arrow can make people a target for fraud. I'm your host, Sarah Frano, along with the funniest Valentine of them all, Matt Sager. Hey, Matt.
Well, hey, Sarah. So happy to join today. It is Valentine, so love is in the air. And my wife and I are celebrating 30 years of marriage this year.
Congratulations.
Oh, I know. It's a milestone. And she was so sweet. She told me this morning, she's like, 30 years of marriage, I wouldn't trade it for all the happiness in the world.
Oh, Mrs. Sager, that's a good one. You might want to up the dozen of the flowers this year for Valentine's Day. Just add another set, Matt. So listen, today, Matt, we are going to talk about love and betrayal. And this type of fraud is especially painful because it doesn't start with a stranger. It starts with someone you trust, a romantic partner or a former one.
Yep. Proof once again that the most dangerous phrase in real estate is, don't worry, babe. I've got it handled.
Yeah, that's exactly right. We're going to share some real life tales of woe and some things that you can do to look out for that might just tip you off that you're dealing with a scoundrel. When I look at fraud that happens at this level, Matt, it's very personal. And I know some of our listeners out there probably know someone that this has happened to, or it's happened to them themselves. And this is a very personal, raw experience for people. But what I see when it comes to this type of fraud is that it's either motivated by need or greed, mostly need. That's mostly what I see. And when we dig into the backstories of the fraudsters, they usually have some sort of urgent need for that money that they will hide from their partner. It could be a gambling debt. It could be, addiction, substance abuse, consumer debt, business troubles, something where they need money really quickly to either help cover, facilitate, or continue their personal issue.
Yeah, I'm reminded of that great 80s quote. It's like, how did it go? It's like, I feel the need for greed.
Yeah, Matt, I think it's need for speed, but fraudsters do like speed. And the other type is, yes, greed. Greed, on the other hand, it's more insidious. They take what they want because they know how to. It is. It's very selfish. They know what they want. They know how to get it, and they know you, and they have all of your weak points. But more importantly, they are exploiting the emotion of love for their own financial gain. It's quite awful.
Well, there's a special place in hell for people like that.
Amen. In our last episode, we talked about refinance fraud. And a lot of this type of romance fraud happens in that refinance space.
Yep. In our last episode, we talked about that refinance fraud, but we really didn't get into the mechanics of how it happens.
You know what, Matt? This is a perfect jumping point to talk about something we don't usually talk about. These types of fraud have a very distinct social norm advantage that help them succeed. So in relationships, it's common to have one person who carries the responsibility, say, for financial matters. And we are accustomed to working with a married couple as a single unit. So when you are in a transaction and one spouse says, hey, I take care of all the money, give me the deed or the loan documents, and I will have my partner or my spouse sign them and I'll get them back to you, we don't blink twice. It feels normal.
So I blame you, society, for setting up relationships as a single unit or operating as a unit, because this is what has created the ability and the opportunity for romance scams.
The other advantage these fraudsters have is access. They know your assets, your finances, your habits, your daily routines. Maybe they have your passwords, your phone, your email. They even have access to your physical mail. They have that strategic interception advantage by being present and having access to you as a victim.
Access is very key. Look, it's very common. Mrs. Sager and I have shared and common passwords because there's an element of trust, but it can also be very easily abused.
Love, I would say, is probably the most powerful emotion, and scientifically, it does make us a little blind. So we lower our guard to those that we love, and we are quicker to dismiss, if we have any suspicions or red flags, we're quicker to dismiss those suspicions.
We do. We let our guard down. So, I know that anytime my daughter calls me and just says, "Hey, Dad," my guard is down and it ends up costing me several $100s every
That's
single
exactly
time.
right.
Hmm.
I feel that pain too, Matt. So listen, I have to, spilling the tea and telling stories is why I know a lot of people listen. And boy, do we have some doozies when it comes to this stuff. So, our first story is a newlywed couple, right in that blissful marriage stage. But the wife, the bride, forged a power of attorney to strip the equity out of her husband's investment property. And here was the thing, she had access. We send out those letters to owners saying, hey, if you've got a transaction open, if you don't, let us know. But she had access to his mail. She took that letter out of the mail. And then as soon as she finished with that one, right behind that one, she did it to her in-laws' property. And then right behind that, she did it to her brother-in-law's property. So her excuse for the reason for using the power of attorney was she said these men were traveling out of the country on business and they needed the money fast for business deals. So she went to hard money lenders and, they had given her this power of attorney to get those loans.
What a great way to start off the marriage. You said this happened shortly after the honeymoon. It's like,
That's right.
you know,
So listen, she did buy her husband some gifts with his own money that she stole.
that's a whole new low. That's a whole
Yeah,
new low.
yeah.
That's
And
brutal.
he did say, "Hey, where did this money come from?" And she said it came from an inheritance.
Are
Again,
they?
it's plausible.
It's plausible. Yeah. Are they still married? Did they go? Can counseling fix this?
As it turned out, because like I said, this is either need or greed. The wife had a hidden gambling addiction problem, and when they looked into it, all of the money was gone. There was none of it left.
She was using a power of attorney. So spouse said, "Here you go. I give you everything," by granting an unlimited general power of attorney, handed over the keys to the kingdom, the keys to the car, the title to the property, the bank accounts, everything. You're given a power of attorney. You're pretty much saying, "Here you go. Do what you want."
That's right. And often with these types of fraud, a convenient or even plausible excuse is given as to why you're only the one that is being dealt with, why there's only one spouse in the transaction. And that power of attorney gives a legal excuse for their lack of presence in the transaction.
Anytime you're dealing with a power of attorney, it pretty much automatically makes the transaction riskier. And you got to verify with the principle that it's still a valid power of attorney.
That's exactly right. You have to trust but verify. Same if you have one spouse or partner who dominates the transaction, you still need to reach out to the non-participating party and confirm the details of the transaction, not just through email because those can be intercepted, but actually talk to the party through a confirmed phone number, and having multiple points of contact with that person is really key, especially if they're really not participating. Because love doesn't just refinance, Matt, it also buys and sells. Do you recall that conversation that we had with that detective last year about the real estate, I would say like real estate adjacent romance scam that was happening?
Oh, Sarah, that's so sweet for you to think I remember things, but I don't even remember what I had for breakfast this morning. So, would you be so kind as to remind my rememberer again?
Fair enough. Fair enough. Okay. So, if you don't recall, I will share this with everyone. I was speaking to a detective, and he was looking into some real estate fraud. And I say real estate adjacent because it didn't involve a title policy. So, what he learned was there was a whole handful of victims who had come into contact with someone through a romance, app. And they had been talking to this person for months, and it was male, female, didn't matter. They were in the middle of a relationship, and this person had convinced them that they were a real estate developer, real estate investor. That's what they did for a living. Very convincing. And after months and months of grooming, he said, "Hey, let's do real estate investing together. Let's form a business together, right? So now they're building something together. They form an LLC, legitimate, formed an LLC. Open up a business banking account in the name of the LLC, legit. And then the person would take their property and transfer it to the LLC, sign a deed, put it into the name of the LLC. Then the LLC would sell the property. And the idea from the fraudster was, you sell your house, put it into the LLC, and we'll take the proceeds to build our real estate company and invest. In fact, what happened was the person would sell the property, or the LLC would sell the property. And then as soon as the proceeds hit the bank account, he would take the money right out of the bank account.
God. Well, from a title perspective, it looks like a legitimate deal, but this rings of fraud in the inducement, which
Yes.
is very difficult for third parties, for title companies or, real estate professionals to detect, because the person is a willing participant in the transaction. They're agreeing to it. They just didn't agree to the terms or the understanding of what's going on in the transaction, but they willingly signed over the deed.
That's right. For more stories behind the headlines, subscribe to First on Fraud and stay one step ahead of the issues that impact your transactions, your timelines, and your bottom line. Now, me, I get my magnifying glass out and I look at these things very carefully to figure out if there is somewhere in there that you could figure out. And the only thing was that the deeds into the LLCs were notarized out of state by a real notary who really did notarize the documents. The fraudster had also found this person, convinced them that they were in a relationship and that she was helping with his real estate business by inappropriately, illegally, notarizing documents that actually had not been executed in front of her. She thought she was helping her boyfriend out by doing this. It was a big, deal. But of course, the detective revealed to me that this person, when they linked it all back, was outside of the country and there was really nothing that they could do.
And while we're talking about present relationships, this also happens with former partners too. There was an instance of a woman's ex-husband who had run into some financial problems, and he knew his ex-wife had a piece of vacant land worth some money, but he also still had her passport. So his new girlfriend looked enough like her that she was able to pass as the ex-wife and forge loan documents at the closing table.
Matt, this is a really good moment to talk about prevention. So for individuals, the biggest and the most simple rule is never sign a real estate document you don't fully understand, especially deeds, powers of attorney, or refinancing documents. These are not symbolic, they are legal documents. And unfortunately, this happens a lot. One partner sticks a piece of paper in front of the other and says, sign here really quick, without the person understanding, or they will sign something and a paper will get slipped out and it gets recorded and it's not at all what you thought it was that you signed.
It's just like, if you're signing a power of attorney, do you understand you're giving that other person unlimited power? It's like turning everything over, saying, take my car, take my house, take my wallet, and just say, I trust you, or surprise me, take good care, don't hurt me.
This should go without saying, but I'm going to say it anyway. Make it your business to know your business. Partners divide to conquer often, and it's always wise for a multitude of reasons beyond fraud prevention to know and understand the finances of a partnership. People should be especially cautious during life transitions, marriage, divorce, illnesses, travel, grief, or loss. These moments create distraction and vulnerability.
All right, real estate professional. So this is your moment. So put down the coffee. We're about to tell you something very important.
That's a big lead in, but listen, real estate agents, you are often the last neutral professional in the room. You may see things, you may hear things that nobody else sees in a transaction. So if you feel like something feels off between parties or something feels off in the transaction, and those red flags could be, one partner controlling all the communication, one spouse never appearing or speaking, or a very sudden urgency to transfer title, or even, hey, lenders, if there's a very sudden need for refinancing, Those can be red flags. They can also be totally innocent, but real estate agents, you're the one who sees the things. You're hearing those subtle conversations. You're seeing those things. Pay attention to them. And if you notice, make sure you raise any issues that you see to your title partners.
While you can't hurry love, fraud does love speed.
Fraud does love speed. So make sure you're normalizing that independent verification, checking with the other partner, checking with the other spouse, and making sure that deal really is real. Doing independent ID verification, proper notarizations, no shortcuts anymore, people. Fraud is just too prevalent.
If someone ever says, hey, we don't need all that, what they really mean is, please don't look any closer. Please don't investigate this. But that's exactly what we should be doing. We're trying to educate you on the importance of looking deeper.
Another tip, and this is really critical when it comes to, documents, if something feels wrong, note it, escalate it, report it, don't ignore it.
Like I always say, when in doubt, check it out. In court, saying I had a weird feeling is much better than saying I thought it was probably okay.
And we hear that so often when people ignore their gut feelings about a transaction or something being off. Hey, guys, make it weird. Agents should not feel embarrassed about escalating things to title and to escrow. You should feel empowered to ask questions like, hey, isn't your partner involved in this decision? Have you had independent advice on this document? Can you walk me through how you know this person? Ask the question. If it feels awkward for you to ask, don't worry about it. Get over it. It's okay. Ask the questions.
Yes, it is awkward. That's because fraud depends on politeness and safety depends on curiosity.
That is so true, Matt. People and fraudsters count on people being really friendly and being afraid to make things awkward. Romantic partner real estate fraud isn't just about bad judgment, it's about unchecked access. Whether you're a homeowner or a real estate professional, paying attention to details, asking questions, and using the right protections can help prevent these type of devastating losses. And Matt, as we come to a close on this very special love episode, I want to share a special Valentine's poem that I wrote just for you, Mr.
Oh, I hope my wife doesn't see this episode. She gets jealous quite easily. So, I can't wait to hear this.
Good. Here it goes. Roses are red. Flags are too. If you ignore the red ones, fraud will find you.
Oh, I love it. I love it. You know what? And in honor of Valentine's, I wrote one for you too.
Did you really?
I did. You ready?
Yes.
Okay. So Valentine, be mine. No need for fancy prose. Just don't forget the lean that quietly grows. Roses are red. These look legit. But check that signature. It's oddly not a fit. I'll buy you chocolates. You bring the trust. But escrow, we'll verify. Because when it comes to lovers, we must.
Oh my God, that was so good. I love it. And to all our listeners, we love you. We thank you. We hope you have a fraud-free February. Hit the link in the show notes to subscribe for episode alerts so you are always first on fraud. We will see you next time. The examples discussed are composites based on patterns we see, with details changed to protect privacy. This podcast is for general information and is not legal advice. This episode is copyright 2026 by First American Financial Corporation, all rights reserved.